Hello, everybody, and welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sports. And some breaking news as what was said to be the biggest transfer of the rugby offseason seems to have fallen through. Cheslin Kolbe looks like he will not be returning to the Stormers and instead will stay in France after apparently walking away from a deal which was reportedly worth 55 million rand, which is a pretty big deal to walk away from, and some pretty massive news and a massive blow to the Stormers, who had thought that they were going to be potentially replacing Warwick Kalant with the 28-year-old superstar that is Cheslin Kolbe, who was one of the world's sort of leading players in the last sort of 2 years, and one of the world's best paid players, which sort of made it was going to make it such a potentially big coup for the side. Before we sort of break down exactly what happened and what has gone wrong, please do smash a like on the video and subscribe to the channel as well. Now, about almost 2 months ago, I think it was around sort of the Welsh, just after the Welsh series, so maybe about a month ago, we put a video out saying Cheslin Kolbe has confirmed his Stormers move. And basically what had happened is that Kolbe had posted a photo of his daughter starting school in Cape Town. Now, the reason that's significant, it's significant on several reasons. First of all, there had been pretty much confirmation that Kolbe had actually approached Western Province Rugby Union. And he had basically come back and said that he's interested in coming back to South Africa. He would like to come back to Cape Town, and he'd like to obviously then rejoin the Stormers. And sort of as a result, that's why the deal seemed like it was pretty straightforward, because if him sort of approaching them as opposed to them sort of going and going after one of the most desirable players in the world, it probably would have never ended well. But the fact of the matter is the player himself wanted to make a return. And when his daughter started school, the reason it's significant is that if you look at European school calendars, for example, if you look at the French school calendar, they have school in July and August and only start in September, which means that had the intent be to stay in France, for example, and then should be going to school in France, you wouldn't have started school here in July or August. It wouldn't have necessarily been a case of, well, you don't want them to miss out school, because they wouldn't have been missing out school. So if you were starting school in France, they would be starting in September. So it wouldn't be much of an issue. For example, they could spend 2 months in South Africa, and then even if he was still fit, he could sort of spend 3 weeks away with the Boks whilst his family were back in France, going to school, etc., etc. So, that was sort of the first major step that we saw him going to the Stormers. We also saw him signing a couple of deals with South African companies, and that was all sort of part of the big deal. The fact that if they're going to be able to afford what was allegedly going to be an 11 million rand a year contract, there was going to have to be other sort of incentives. And the big sort of talk was about the fact there was going to be a big housing allowance for him, that there was going to be sponsored cars, for example. There was also rumors that that's now being reported that his wife was offered a job at a major company as well. So financially, that was going to be what was going to be palatable for him to leave what is one of the biggest salaries in the world. I mean, Cheslin Kolbe, currently sits with about 70 million rand a year, over in France. So for him to have come back here and leave Toulon, you'd have to be paid the big bucks, and you'd want to continue to sort of the similar sort of amount. You would have always had to have taken a pay cut to a certain degree, but probably a little bit similar to what we're seeing in the Sharks. There were going to be multiple different incentives for him to sort of make up that financial gap. And so the plan, at least until the last couple of weeks, had always been for him to sign for the Stormers and to be playing in the URC, the European Champions Cup, with the current URC champions. However, stories will probably start breaking now in the next couple of hours. It has been broken first by Stephen Nall in Network 24. He's a very reliable journalist, saying that he has decided not to take up the offer and not make the return, citing safety and security in South Africa as the main reason. And first of all, it's a massive blow for South African rugby, but I mean, spare a thought for Stormers fans who were getting ready to watch Cheslin Kolbe come and wreak havoc in the URC in Stormers colours. And as I said, I think it's a massive blow for the URC, it's a massive blow for South African rugby, and it's a very chilling idea that there are players who were willing to come back to the country, but things have changed within the last couple of months to sort of make it seem like they don't want to come here. It's no longer viable to come back to play in South Africa, which is quite a harrowing testament to sort of the times in South Africa. And, things are quite tough in the country at the moment. Anybody living here would be able to testify to that. So it is incredibly sad that we're not going to be able to see one of the best players in the world playing locally at Cape Town Stadium every second week. Once at Ellis Park this season, once at Loftus, once at Sharks, and be able to go and watch, one of our best players, one of our Springbok stars in the run into the World Cup in Cape Town. But it has been quite a late decision for him to decide to make a U-turn and to, in fact, not sign that contract and to remain committed to Toulon. So, yeah, it's quite frustrating. It's quite upsetting because it was set to be such a big transfer. And I think, on the back of Evan Etzebeth, on the back of Joseph Dweber going to the Stormers, we've seen so many players, Ryan Jansen van Rensburg coming back to South Africa, Marcel Coetzee at the Bulls. It would have been such a nice big boost to sort of see some of our real big stars coming back to South Africa, Etzebeth being one of them. And this is a massive blow to South African rugby in terms of it not being much easier to bring players back. If Cheslin Kolbe is willing to walk away from a 17 million rand contract in France, what's to say we can't start bringing other players back, because 95% of the other players overseas, probably 99% of the players overseas, are not earning those sort of contracts. And if you can kind of match that contract, you can start to sort of match other contracts in terms of other incentives and the way you can sort of build your contract. So we will probably still hopefully have clarity over that in the next couple sort of week or two. I'm sure that Kolbe will probably be asked about it quite soon. And we'll probably wait for sort of official confirmation. Not that there necessarily has to be confirmation, because it's not like he's leaving anywhere. He's just sort of going to stay at where stay put. But it's a massive blow for the Stormers, for South African rugby, and the URC. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Please do smash like on the video and subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Steven. I'll chat to you soon.